I've driven thousands of nights, but only one ride ever made me consider quitting for good. It wasn't a threat, or a weapon, or anything you could report. It was a silence so heavy, it felt like it was breaking something inside my car. This job teaches you to read people in the first 5 seconds. The way they open the door, how they say hello, if they meet your eyes in the rearview mirror. This one felt different from the start. It was a cold Tuesday in late October, the kind of wet, miserable night that keeps everyone indoors. The request came in just before 3 a.m. The pickup was a quiet street in a tired-looking suburb, the kind with identical houses and patchy lawns. The destination was just a name. Waverly Hills. My app flagged it as temporarily closed, but I figured it was a glitch. People put in old addresses all the time. I pulled up to a small, neat house. Lights off, except for a dim porch lamp fighting against the thick fog. A few seconds later, the back door of my Camry opened. A young man, maybe early 20s, slid in. He was wearing a thin jacket, soaked through from the rain, and was covered in, well, it looked like dirt. Not just a smudge, but streaks of mud and what looked like dried leaves on his jeans and sleeves. He didn't say a word, just shut the door quietly. The car filled with the smell of damp earth and cold rain. "Waverly Hills?" I asked, trying to sound cheerful. He just nodded, staring straight ahead. No eye contact in the mirror. Nothing. The silence was immediate and absolute. I started the trip. The GPS routed us toward the outskirts of Louisville. For the first 10 minutes, the only sounds were the rhythmic thump of my windshield wipers and the low hum of the engine. Usually, even silent passengers fidget. They check their phone. They look out the window. They breathe. This guy was perfectly still. It was like I was driving a statue. I kept glancing at the rearview mirror. His face was pale, his expression completely blank. He just sat there, dripping quietly onto my floor mats. Here's where it gets darker. We left the main roads, and the streetlights started to disappear. The interstate gave way to a 2-lane state highway, slick with rain and flanked by dark, dense woods. The fog was getting thicker, my headlights barely cutting through it. The GPS kept saying you have arrived, but we were in the middle of nowhere. Just trees and darkness. I slowed down, confused. "It says we're here, man, but there's nothing." For the first time, he spoke. His voice was a hoarse whisper, barely audible. "Keep going. It's up the hill." I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. The official route was done. Going further meant going off the grid, with a passenger who was making every hair on my arms stand up. I hesitated. This is where I almost turned around. My gut was screaming at me. A silent passenger covered in dirt, a destination that doesn't exist on the map, on a deserted road at 3 in the morning. But then I saw his reflection in the mirror again. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking out the window, and for a split second, I saw something in his eyes. It wasn't menacing. It was desperate. "Please," he whispered. "My brother is still admitted there." Admitted. The app said closed. I made a choice. A stupid choice, maybe, but I made it. I took the turn onto a narrow, unpaved road that climbed steeply into the woods. The branches of old trees scraped against the roof of the car. It felt like we were driving into a tunnel. The road was barely a road anymore, more like a muddy track. My Camry struggled. After a few minutes of this tense, bumpy ride, a shape began to emerge from the fog. A colossal, dark silhouette. Against the gray sky, it was a building. No, a complex. Massive, sprawling, with rows upon rows of black, empty windows. It looked like a skeleton. This had to be Waverly Hills. There were no lights, no cars, no signs of life at all. We pulled up to a rusted, chained-off gate. The place was clearly abandoned, had been for decades. "We're here," I said, my voice shaky. "But it's closed down. It's empty." He didn't seem to hear me. He was just staring at the monstrous building, his breathing suddenly shallow and fast. What he told me next still keeps me awake. "No," he said, his voice cracking. "They never let anyone leave." He's in the West Wing. They put the worst cases there. He fumbled with the door handle. I have to get him. Before I could say anything, he was out of the car and stumbling toward a gap in the fence, disappearing into the overgrown grounds. I sat there for a full minute, my heart pounding against my ribs. The engine was still running, my headlights illuminating the no trespassing sign on the gate. The air in the car still smelled like wet dirt. I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? That I dropped a guy off at an abandoned sanatorium because he said his brother was inside. I realized then he wasn't telling me everything. I looked at the back seat where he'd been sitting. There was a puddle of muddy water on the floor, Matt. An neg stoit. Something small and white. I reached back and picked it up. It was an old patient identification band, the kind they used to use in hospitals. It was brittle with age. The plastic yellowed and cracked. The name on it was faded, almost unreadable, but I could just make it out. It was the same name as the passenger who had just left my car. I didn't wait. I threw the car in reverse, skidding on the mud, and got out of there as fast as I could. I never looked back. I ended the ride, drove straight to an all-night Circle K, and sat in the bright, sterile light of the parking lot for an hour, just trying to get my hands to stop shaking. I never got a rating for that trip. The fare just processed silently. I've tried to forget it, to explain it away. Maybe he was a confused kid. Maybe he was on something. Maybe it was all some elaborate prank. But I can't shake the image of that building, or the feeling of that silence, or the name on that old hospital band. Some nights, when it's late and the rain is falling, I still think about him. I wonder if he ever found his brother in the dark, empty halls of Waverly Hills, or if he was just going home. If this stayed with you, share your thoughts in the comments. The night is full of stories.